नमस्कार दोस्तों, डी रिएक्ट के एक और रिएक्शन वीडियो में आपका स्वागत है। मैं हूं आलोक। तो आज का एक वीडियो जो मुझे दिखा है वो है टैंक के ऊपर, फ्यूचर टैंक। लेकिन ये फ्यूचर टैंक इंडिया का नहीं है, ये फ्यूचर टैंक ब्रिटेन का है। और इस वीडियो का टाइटल है द चैलेंजर 3 मेन बैटल टैंक। जैसा कि आप सब जानते हैं कि चैलेंजर जो है वो ब्रिटेन का मेन बैटल टैंक है, तो उसका ये थर्ड वेरिएंट है और ये फ्यूचर टैंक बता रहे हैं। तो चलिए देखते हैं कि इस वीडियो में इस फ्यूचर टैंक के बारे में क्या जानने, क्या समझने और क्या अच्छी जानकारी हमें मिलती है। तो चलिए शुरू करते हैं।
Whew. Did that get you hot under the collar, or is it just me? Yes, here we are, folks. I never actually thought I would produce this video for you today. We are discussing the Challenger 3. Yes, the Challenger 3. You heard that right. There is going to be a third revision of the beautiful British main battle tank.
अच्छा, मैं आपको एक चीज़ अहम बात बता दूं कि इस वीडियो में बीच बीच में मैं वीडियो को पॉज करूंगा और आपको बताने की कोशिश करूंगा कि अब तक इन्होंने क्या क्या बातें बताई हैं। क्योंकि एक साथ जब मैं आखिर में बात करता हूं तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें स्किप हो जाती हैं। तो इससे बेहतर है कि बीच बीच में पॉज लेकर और उसके बारे में जो खूबियाँ बताई हैं, जो चीज़ें बताई हैं, उसके बारे में जल्दी से बता दूंगा मैं।
This is not new news. It's fairly old, considering that a lot of people have already covered this topic, and you guys have been screaming at me to make this video, and I thought I would finally get into the realm of main battle tanks again, especially my homeland's main battle tank, because this is probably the most exciting news that could come for main battle tank enthusiasts out there today. We all know that the tank originated from the UK, the original tank that is, and the history of the tank has really been stemmed upon British tank history. Now, we haven't always made the greatest tanks in the world, I have to admit. World War II, there was some challenging designs that were made in World War II, but the Challenger 2, I will still, hands on my heart, say that is one of the greatest main battle tanks of the world. But it also is very dated for its time, considering we are in 2021 and the Challenger 2 is still using technology that is far less superior than some of its counterparts that it could potentially be engaging in combat. Now, let's start off with a few things that we need to really talk about with this tank that are critical. First of all is that this has been needed for a long time, as I've already mentioned. Second of all, this is really exciting news for the British Army overall, because a lot of people were discussing whether or not the Challenger 2, or whatever future variant it would be staying with the British Army, which clearly is now not the case. There's been a dedicated funding budget placed towards this main battle tank. It ain't cheap, I can tell you that much. It's going to be a lot of money, a lot of money, but it's needed, it's a necessity, it's a requirement.
तो ये भाई साहब अब तक ये बता रहे थे कि अब तक चैलेंजर 2 यूज़ कर रही है ब्रिटिश आर्मी, और लोग ये बड़ा स्पेकुलेट कर रहे थे कि पता नहीं अगला फ्यूचर टैंक कैसा होगा, क्या होगा। तो चैलेंजर 3 लेकर ये आ रहे हैं और इनमें बहुत सारा पैसा लगाया गया है इसके डेवलपमेंट को लेकर, और इस बात का ख्याल रखा गया है कि भाई ये फ्यूचरिस्टिक टैंक हो, यानी कि जो फ्यूचर में इसको ज़रूरतें होंगी, नेटवर्क सेंट्रिक और बाकी चीज़ें, तो मुझे लगता है कि इस बारे में भी ये लोग डिस्कस करेंगे। तो चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं।
To keep the fighting force of the British Army in the armoured realm at the tip of the spear, and you know, a cost that is worthwhile. I think we all knew that this was going to be an extremely costly program. We've had the Challenger 2 LEP, we've had all sorts of different upgrade packages. I've done some videos of it myself, of the different things that they're going to potentially be upgrading to. Nothing was really solidified. We talked about the Black Knight program, active protection systems, etc. But this is a dedicated future program that will be modified for the main battle tank. It's going to increase its firepower, cutting edge protection systems, and should be, and will remain to be, in my eyes, the forefront of tank designs. and poised to respond to the future global threats and challenges, so to speak, for this tank of the future. Now, the contract with Rheinmetall or BAE Systems is to deliver 148 Challenger 3 tanks. Now, to me, that's still not quite enough, considering, the Challenger 2 in its history has had a lot more than that. And of course, in its German days with BOAR, we used to have, squadrons and squadrons of these things flying around. But it's a sacrifice that personally I would be happy to side.
तो इनके मुताबिक 148 चैलेंजर 3 टैंक्स का ऑर्डर जो है वो BAE सिस्टम को दिया जा चुका है, और इनके मुताबिक ये काफ़ी नहीं है, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि ब्रिटिश आर्मी को ज़्यादा पता है कि उसे कितनी ज़रूरत है और किस तरह की ज़रूरत है। तो इनके मुताबिक 148 टैंक्स का ऑर्डर BAE 3 को दिया जा चुका है चैलेंजर 3 टैंक्स के लिए।
Upon for the fact that at the end of the day, you can't make too many of these things. They have to be customized and specified for tank fighting. We can't make, half of them upgrade and the other half stay behind the Challenger 2 program, and some countries have done that. For instance, the Leopard 2 in its various configurations around the world, some countries have partially upgraded some of their fleet with some tank systems out there, and some of them haven't. They've kind of gone on a routine basis of when we have the money, we'll try and upgrade to the next package. With the British Army, they're going for the full-fledged setup of 148 of these tanks, which will bring the out-of-service date, technically, to 2040. It's going to provide a ton of jobs, which for me is awesome, because my homeland is going to get a lot of good skilled jobs. Apparently there's going to be 200 jobs at the RBSL, or the Rheinmetall-based systems company there in the UK, including 130 engineers, 70 technicians, and a further 450 jobs will be established throughout the wider supply chain across the West Midlands, Glasgow, Newcastle-on-Tyne, and the Isle of Wight. That's a really good thing we need to talk about too, because one thing I was fearful of, and I don't think it would have ever happened, but a lot of people have said, Matt, if Challenger 3 was to be made, do you think they would outsource it to the US? Do you think that the US would design something we'd pay for it, or with the Germans? Now, of course, there is a little bit of outside influence in stocks that are involved with other countries' purchase of this kind of design, with Rheinmetall, of course. However, it is going to be a British-made tank, which is great, and that makes me proud to know that a new modern main battle tank will be made in the UK by British people to...
तो ये इस वीडियो में अब तक ये बताया गया कि भाई इसके ज़रिए बहुत सारी जॉब क्रिएशन भी होगी और ब्रिटिश लोगों को इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा काम मिलेगा। और दूसरी जो चीज़ है ये है कि 2040 तक जो हैं ये सर्विस में रह पाएंगे और इनको अपग्रेड किया जा सकता है। अब इस पे आगे ये क्या बता रहे हैं देखते हैं।
In hand. So fantastic stuff. Now, it will offer export opportunities too. There's been some discussion about this tank potentially being sold to other countries. The United States clearly are not going to. They've invested heavily into their own Abrams main battle tank. Germany and other countries that use Leopard 2 are also probably not going to utilize this. But there has been some discussions and some rumor on the grapevine that certain countries, Spain, Italy, have had some interest in this design being brought up to the forefront of main battle tank design. We all know of the Ariete. It's a really little cool tank, but this tank, when it's designed, the Challenger 3 in its full-fledged capability, will be cutting edge. It really will be the forefront of main battle tank design. We're not going to play the game of which tank will be best. I don't play that game, everyone, and I know many of you are going to be asking in the comments section, do you think this will beat the Armata? Do you think this will beat the M1A2 Abrams? Do you think this will be... it's not going to happen, okay? You can't quantify this. You can't, speculate as to what tank will be better. All I'm saying is that this tank is going to be one of the best tanks in the world. I would safely say Challenger 2 in its current configuration right now is not. I've said that many times before, even though I do say it's my favorite tank, it's just not up to the par. Now, the overhaul will include, the most important thing I think of all, is the 120mm smoothbore gun, which is using the most advanced globally available ammunition, standard NATO ammo, that is 1-part ammunition as opposed to the 3-part ammunition that is standardized on the Challenger 2. Of course, you have the, say, fin round.
अच्छा, ये बात सही कह रहे हैं कि भाई ऐसे जज करना बड़ा मुश्किल है कि ये टैंक बहुत बढ़िया है, ये टैंक बहुत... हाँ, थोड़ी बहुत जजमेंट हो जाती है क्योंकि उनकी जो काबिलियत होती है, उनमें जो टेक्निकल स्पेसिफिकेशंस होते हैं, उसके आधार पर ये कहा जा सकता है कि कौन सा टैंक किस एरिया में बेहतर है और किस एरिया में कमज़ोर है। लेकिन ये कह रहे हैं कि भाई ये अब तक का जो सबसे अब तक के बेहतरीन टैंक्स होंगे उनमें से एक चैलेंजर 3 होने जा रहा है। और जैसा कि इन्होंने बताया कि स्पेन और इटली जैसी कंट्रीज़ भी चैलेंजर 3 में इंटरेस्ट दिखा रही हैं और हो सकता है कि आने वाले टाइम पे इस चीज़ के लिए चैलेंजर 3 के लिए वो इनको ऑर्डर भी दे दे। लेकिन अभी ये सब हवा में, अभी ये सब क्लियर नहीं है, सिर्फ उन्होंने इंटरेस्ट दिखाया है।
hesh round, you have the bag charge, and then the primer that actually engages the propellant into the barrel. That's all going to go. We're going to go back to the standard NATO format of one-piece ammunition, and that's a good thing. There's a number of reasons for why it's a good thing. Many of you probably already know this. But first and foremost, I work in logistics in my civilian job, and I know how it works, even in the artillery with ammunition. You want to minimize the amount of disruption between sharing ammunition or distributing ammunition. And, if you put a battle group of Challenger 3s, Leopard 2s, and Abrams in the same conflict, which, of course, we are seeing in potential conflicts of the future in Eastern Europe, ammunition needs to be widely available and capable of being used on any tank. So this new ammunition will allow that to happen, unlike the old rifled gun, which, of course, a lot of people have said, yeah, but the rifle gun's good. Yes, but it does limit a lot of capabilities for the tank of the future. There is an elephant in the room. We're not going to talk about it today. It kind of defeats the purpose of exactly what I just mentioned as a positive, but I was kind of baffled as to why, if we're going to spend so much money, we wouldn't have upgraded a little bit higher to 125mm or even maybe 130mm. But I can totally appreciate and understand why they would go this way. It's going to be a huge cost to go into the 125 or 130mm gun, and it defeats the purpose of again.
अच्छा, यहाँ पे ये बता रहे हैं कि भाई 120mm की स्मूथ बोर गन इस टैंक में लगी है, और मैं आपको बता दूं कि हमारे अर्जुन टैंक में स्मूथ बोर नहीं है, वो राइफल्ड गन है जो उसकी टैंक की नाल होती है। तो यहाँ पर ये बता रहे हैं कि स्मूथ बोर गन होने का फ़ायदा ये है कि भाई इसके जो एमओ है इसका वो इजीली अवेलेबल होता है, क्योंकि दुनिया के बहुत ज़्यादातर टैंक्स जो हैं वो स्मूथ बोर गन का इस्तेमाल करते हैं। तो इनके हिसाब से अगर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट कहीं पे होता है तो चैलेंजर 3 के लिए एमुनेशन की प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगी, वो एमुनेशन उसे ईजिली अवेलेबल हो जाएगा।
Standardizing with other nations. The 120mm smoothbore is a very formidable main battle tank gun of today and still does what it needs to do. More importantly, to coincide with that main gun, there's going to be a new suite of sights providing the tank commander with the enhanced day and night targeting capabilities. Unfortunately, the current sight that is on the Challenger 2 is not super impressive at night or in rough conditions. It does work, however, it does not provide full CITV or commander's independent thermal viewing capabilities. So they really need a more vivid targeting system on the commander's side. And they're also going to be improving the sighting system of the gunner as well, which is fantastic. In terms of armor, of course, all very classified, Dorchester, Chobham, etc., etc. There's going to be a new modular package placed onto the tank. I think we all knew that was going to happen anyway, but really exciting stuff. The Brits, we know for sure how to make good armor. We made Chobham, we made Dorchester. It's very good armor. The Americans, of course, capitalizing on that in the Gulf Wars and the Iraq Wars there. So we know how to make armor very effectively. And then on top of that, they're also looking at producing an active protection system, which is really, really interesting. Whether it's, that of the Israeli standard or the Americans' design, who knows? We're not too sure exactly what that active protection system is yet. It is subject to a contract. I'm really excited as to what that contract will be. I'm sure some of you can probably speculate some options that will be placed on the tank. It's hard to say exactly, but there's some pretty big contenders that I'm sure, the Brits are going to be kind of capitalizing on. And, of course, a turret that can be fitted to tanks of the allies of global partners. Now, that's a total different thing that I've never heard before, but they're literally looking at producing the turret in a configuration that can be swapped out with other tanks. That's
तो यहाँ पर बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ इन्होंने शेयर की है कि जो चैलेंजर 3 MK3 होने वाला है टैंक, इसमें 24 आवर हंटर किलर एंड डे नाइट कमांडर प्राइमरी साइट होगा। हंटर किलर उसे कहते हैं कि वो दिन हो रात हो उसमें जाके वो ढूंढे और किल करे सामने वाले दुश्मन को। दूसरी चीज़ वो ये बता रहे हैं कि गनर साइट पे भी ये डे नाइट वाली साइट इनके पास गनर पे चैलेंजर 3 में रहेगी। तीसरी चीज़ की जो इम्प्रूव टैक्टिकल कम्युनिकेशंस है, मतलब इसमें जो कम्युनिकेशंस होगी वो बहुत इम्प्रोवाइज़ की गई है और बहुत अच्छी होगी। एक्टिव प्रोटेक्शन यानी APS जो होता है एक्टिव प्रोटेक्शन सिस्टम, इसके बारे में अभी ये नहीं बताया गया कि किस तरह का सिस्टम लगेगा। ये बता रहे हैं कि इजरायली स्टैंडर्ड का लगेगा या अमेरिकन, अभी ये क्लियर नहीं है। इसके अलावा इसमें जो बदलाव इनके मुताबिक हो रहे हैं कि इन्हेंस्ड हल प्रोटेक्शन सिस्टम इसमें लगा है, मतलब सिस्टम नहीं कहेंगे इसको, जो आर्मर बेसिकली होता है ये, तो हल को जो हल होता है नीचे का पूरा सामने का जिससे प्रोटेक्ट, क्योंकि सामने से दुश्मन के टैंक्स के गोले आकर लगते रहते हैं, तो उनसे बचाव के लिए ये हल प्रोटेक्शन दिया गया है। इसके अलावा ये बता रहे हैं कि इन्हेंस्ड फ्रंट एंड साइड टरेट प्रोटेक्शन भी है, मतलब इसमें टरेट को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए साइड और फ्रंट में भी इनमें प्रोटेक्शन लगाई गई है। इसके अलावा हैवी आर्मर ऑटोमेटिव इंप्रूवमेंट दी गई है, 3rd जनरेशन हाइड्रोगैस सस्पेंशन है, जिससे उबड़ खाबड़ रास्तों में भी चलने में इस टैंक को दिक्कत नहीं होगी। इसके अलावा इसके इंजन में भी काफ़ी सारी इंप्रूवमेंट्स की गई हैं।
Really strange to me. I've never heard of that before in a main battle tank platform, to actually integrate, the entire turret to a new vehicle was very strange, but really cool at the same instance. They are going to be looking at the increased electrical power and GVA electronic architecture with growth potential, so better networking and capabilities for IT inside the vehicle, so better network capabilities to logging into the battle group net, or command and control, which is really important, of course, with the main battle tank. There is discussion of enhanced hull protection as well, so beefing up probably the belly plates, and that front glasses plate that you guys constantly talk about being its weakness. And finally, the one that really kind of speaks to me, being that I was repairing these vehicles at one point, is the power pack. They're actually going to be updating and improving the power pack, which personally, in my eyes, has always been the weakness of the Challenger 2. Okay, I love the tank. I think it's fantastic. I know many people who are crew members, combat crew members, have served on these tanks in the front line, whether it be, Iraq or wherever else, Eastern Europe, and they love them. Combat effective tank have done the job very well. But when it comes to the powertrain or the power plant of the Challenger 2, I can firsthand say it's always had a rough edge, a really rough edge. Not ideal. It's not the most reliable power pack in the world, and they're looking to upgrade that. I do have a contact, and he knows who he is, who works within the development of that power pack program with the company who's going to be producing the new one, and he says there's a lot of exciting things coming and some really good news for the tank overall. So that's something I really hope they spend a lot of time and resources on. I know it's important to upgrade the gun and the architecture for targeting, etc., but if you don't get a tank that can move effectively and without high levels of maintenance, you are defeating the purpose of having.
तो यहाँ पर इन्होंने बताया कि ये नेटवर्क कैपेबिलिटीज़ को ध्यान में रखकर चैलेंजर 3 को बनाया जाएगा। देखिए, आगे आने वाले जो युद्ध हैं वो सारे नेटवर्क सेंट्रिक हो रहे हैं। मतलब ज़मीन पे मौजूद टैंक को भी ये पता होना चाहिए कि ऊपर जो मेरा हवाई जहाज़ या फाइटर जेट उड़ रहा है वहाँ से डेटा क्या मिल रहा है, वो क्या देख रहा है। वीडियोस भी इसमें शामिल है, वीडियो स्ट्रीमिंग शामिल है। इनको पता होना चाहिए कि अगर दूसरे किसी इलाके में ड्रोन है वो वहाँ पे क्या इनको तस्वीरें भेज रहा है, दुश्मनों की पोजीशंस के बारे में क्या बता रहा है, इनकी जो इन्फेंट्री है वो कहाँ मौजूद है। तो इन सारी जानकारी की सारा डेटा बहुत ज़रूरी होता है, क्योंकि जब आप नेटवर्क सेंट्रिक वॉरफेयर में जाते हो तो ये सारा डेटा बहुत अहम होता है, और इससे ये तय होता है कि टैंक्स की मूवमेंट कहाँ होगी, कैसे जाएगी और कैसे दुश्मन को घेरना है।
Having a tank. Mobility and firepower go key together, and protection, of course, on top of that. I just really hope they don't neglect the power pack as more so they do for the protection and the main gun. So, for me, in my personal opinion, I'm absolutely over the moon. I've left this video off for a little while because I've been extremely busy, everyone. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to go through a bit of a mental health concern at the moment as well, but that's on me. I shouldn't be taking out on you. I am going to try my best to produce more content for you guys, but when I heard that they're actually going to be producing the Challenger 3, I could not stop smiling, because I'm like, yes, it's actually happening. And I always said, do you remember, in many videos I've talked about in the past, I said, we're not going to get a Challenger 3, folks. We're going to get an upgraded Challenger 2 with a new designation next to it. But no, they're actually going to call it the Challenger Mark 3 or the Challenger 3 main battle tank. And that is really, really cool stuff. To the people that I've spoke to serving currently in the British Army as crew members of the Challenger 2, they're also very, very excited. They're also not getting their hopes up too much. A lot of people that I've spoke to who are crew members, a couple of them are tank commanders, squadron leaders, have said that they're not counting their eggs quite yet. There's a lot of money floating around. This is contractual work, so contracts never come through until.
तो ये बता रहे हैं कि कई सारी कमियां जो हैं वो चैलेंजर 2 में हैं। उन कमियों को कैसे दूर किया जाएगा, वो पावर पैक की हो या फिर गन्स की हो या फिर जो प्रोटेक्शन की है इनकी, वो ERS और बाकी चीज़ों के बारे में, तो इसके बारे में वो चिंतित हैं कि भाई पता नहीं चैलेंजर 3 में ये कैसे दूर की जाएंगी, क्योंकि चैलेंजर 2 में थोड़ा सा ये मतलब खुश नहीं है उन सब चीज़ों के। तो इनको लगता है कि चैलेंजर 3 में ये सारी चीज़ें दूर कर ली जाएंगी और इसे दुनिया के बेस्ट टैंक्स में से इसे बनाया जाएगा।
They're actually paid, and this technology could change. It could either change for the better, even better stuff being added to the tank, or for the worse. They may cut the fat, trim the fat on these programs that they want to install. We'll see. But they're really excited, but they're also a little hesitant as to getting a little too excited just yet, because this is a huge infrastructure change of the tank, and it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, we're talking about a tank that's been asked to perform now with this upgrade until 2040. That is a long time. I mean, I'm going to be an old man at that point, which is going to be very sad when the Challenger 4, whatever new tank comes out, but that's a long time. It's a long time to allow this tank to continue its service, rightly so, as it deserves. It's going to get a nice full makeover, and no one can say it's like painting a pig, because the Challenger 2 is a combat-serving and registered tank that has actually taken out armored fighting vehicles in combat. There's not a huge level of tanks out there in the modern world that can say they've done that. Yes, I know, Abrams wholeheartedly has definitely engaged its targets, as has Leopard 2. But there's other tanks out there that have not really been put against its paces against armored fighting vehicles in the world. Challenger 2, it's been in insurgency, it's come up against tanks, it's provided peacekeeping, it's served its time, so it deserves this. The crew members, the tank regiments, the British Army itself deserve this upgrade. The British government, I think, has made a fantastic decision to not scrap the tank, to upgrade it, provide that 148 strength main battle tank force, and I am most excited for the future in the next 10, 15 years of actually potentially seeing these tanks in Suffield, which is British Army Training Unit Suffield, or BATUS. One day when I'm serving here in the Canadian Armed Forces, I may be able to see them or get a quick actual tour of one of the tanks in the future, because I'm hoping that if British Army Training Unit Suffield stays open for the future, they'll bring these bad boys over and I'll actually be able to climb on them and talk to some people and see if I can get a tour. But that's for another day. We got to keep our fingers crossed. Let's hope this contract continues to push through, and we'll see a lot more of this in the future. So, folks, as you know, this is big news. It's a big deal. I would love to hear your opinion on this. Please, please, please comment in the comment section below. I really encourage you to hit the like button in this video. It really does help me and my channel. If you did enjoy the content, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button and also click the bell button so you can be notified of any upcoming content in the future. I appreciate you all so much being here today. If you also did enjoy, feel free to check out the description box for my various social media and donation or support pages. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting my Patreon, my PayPal, and membership to the channel. It really, really does help me a lot, and I can't thank you enough. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and once again, a big salute and hats off to the Challenger 3 tank. All the best, everyone. Bye-bye.
चलिए, तो भाई इनके चैनल को लाइक कर दीजिए, जाके देख लीजिएगा। डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में मैंने इसका ओरिजिनल लिंक भी डाला हुआ है और चैनल का लिंक भी डाला हुआ है। अच्छा, एक चीज़ मुझे यहाँ पे बड़ी अजीब सी लगी कि इसमें मुझे सेकेंडरी गन कोई नहीं दिखाई दी। नॉर्मली मशीन गन्स होती हैं जो रिमोट माउंटेड होती है, लेकिन मुझे दिखाई नहीं दी। हो सकता है हो इसमें, लेकिन इसके बारे में इन्होंने बताया नहीं कुछ। दूसरा, शाफ्ट्स और फ्लेयर्स मुझे दिख रहे थे, जो बाकी अटैक से बचने के लिए जो इसमें काउंटर मेजर्स होने चाहिए वो भी दिख रहे हैं। तो नो डाउट चैलेंजर 2 जो है वो भी एक बहुत अच्छा टैंक है और बहुत बेहतरीन टैंक है, और मुझे लगता है कि चैलेंजर 3 उससे कहीं बेहतर टैंक साबित होगा। हालांकि कब आएगा ये कह नहीं सकते, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट अभी दिए जा रहे हैं, कई सारे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट देने वाले हैं। तो इस हिसाब से जो पूरा वीडियो मैंने देखा, इसके हिसाब से जो चैलेंजर 3 पे काम इनका चल रहा है, वो काम चल रहा है बहुत तेज़ी से, और कोशिश है कि इसमें बहुत सारा पैसा लगाया गया है। पैसा इसलिए लगाया गया और कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बेसिस पे किया गया कि भाई काम जल्दी कंप्लीट हो। कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बेसिस में ये फ़ायदा होता है कि आप काम बांट देते हैं एक्चुअली कई जगहों पे कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स को, कि आप ये इंजन का काम करोगे, आप टरेट का काम करोगे, आप सस्पेंशन पे काम करोगे, आप फायर पावर पे काम करोगे, आप सॉफ्टवेयर पे काम करोगे, आप मतलब सारा काम बांटा हुआ होता है। तो मुझे भी उम्मीद है कि एक बहुत अच्छा टैंक साबित होगा, और मुझे एक और उम्मीद लग रही है, पता नहीं इसमें क्या होगा। भारत और ब्रिटेन जो हैं वो डिफेंस रिलेशन में एक दूसरे के करीब आ रहे हैं, और धीरे धीरे ये चीज़ें बढ़ रही है। जैसे अभी इंजन पे भी हुआ, जेट इंजन के ऊपर हुआ है, शिप्स के इंजन के ऊपर हुआ है, तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें। तो ये भी हो सकता है कि आगे चल के हम टैंक्स पे भी काम कर सकें। हालांकि इस बारे में कोई खबर नहीं है मेरे पास, कोई जानकारी नहीं है, मैं एक स्पेकुलेशन बता रहा हूँ कि कल को अगर भारत और ब्रिटेन मिलकर टैंक डेवलप करें तो इसमें कोई आश्चर्य नहीं होना चाहिए। खैर, ये तो अभी भविष्य की बात है। तो दोस्तों, बताइएगा वीडियो कैसा लगा और इससे क्या कुछ आपको जानकारी मिली, ज़रूर कमेंट बॉक्स में डालिएगा। तो जल्दी हाजिर होता हूँ एक और नए रिएक्शन वीडियो के साथ। तब तक के लिए नमस्कार, जय हिंद।